Hi, this is Karen with Karen's Cards and More, and today we're going to make this beautiful card, a beautiful birthday card. We're always in need of birthday cards, and so I wanted to show you, I've seen a lot of cards made with the Happiness Abounds stamps and die set and the designer series paper that goes with it, but a lot of it features the designer series paper. So I wanted to show you, if you didn't buy the collection to get the designer series paper, how you can still make a beautiful card with the stamp and die set. So this is what we're going to feature today. This is the outside, and here's the inside. Pretty easy card, but just gives you a lot of beauty. So let's talk about what we're going to need to make this card. Of course, first we're going to need the Happiness Abounds. This is the stamp set. It's a polymer set, which means it's the clear stamps. And there's a coordinating die set. And we're going to be using this. This is a rose, and we're going to be using it. And we're going to be using both of these leaves. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull these out while we're talking about them, because we're going to need those. We're going to be using this rose stamp. We're going to be using the two leaves. We're going to be using this, I don't know if those are daisies or what kind of flower those are to be, but we're going to use that. And we're going to use the happy birthday from the stamp set. So definitely this card will give you a lot of use out of this set. So then let's talk about what else we're going to use. We are also going to use the Pretty Flowers embossing folder. So that's this. We're going to be using that. And we're going to be using the layering circles. And they go from, this is the largest, second largest, and it goes back and forth. We're going to use the second largest of the scalloped of the layering circles. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. Then we're also going to be using a little, we're going to use black memento, and then we're going to stamp one thing on the inside with the Pale Papaya ink. We're going to use the Pale Papaya Stampin' Blends. We're going to use the Pale Papaya Sheer Ribbon. And we're going to use the Brushed Brass Butterflies. We're going to use some dimensionals, and let's go over the cardstock. Now, if you don't get all these dimensions for the cardstock written down, that's okay. Just hop on over to my blog, karenscardsandmore.com, and you'll be able to see the complete card recipe there, as well as links to order any of the products that you see me using today. So you don't have to worry about getting them all written down. You can find them there. So the card base is Pale Papaya, and it's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Then I have a piece of basic black that is 5 1/4 by 4. Then we're going to need a piece of Pale Papaya, and this really could vary. It just needs to be bigger, smaller than the white piece that we're going to put over top of it. I did mine 3.5 by 4.5, and that worked really well. Then we're going to need a piece of basic white that is 3 3/4 by 5, and these will all layer together for the front. Then for the inside, we're going to need a piece that is 5 1/4 by 4, and that's going to be our inside panel. So I'm just going to set these out of the way for a moment, and I want to get started. We want to do all of our stamping, get it out of the way before we start anything else. So I'm going to bring in, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my scraps. I have a scrap of basic white and a scrap of soft succulent. And this is going to be our focal point die cuts for the front. So we're going to be using this rose. And we're going to use both of these leaves, and we're going to be using black memento ink. So let's go ahead and get these stamped, and I'm going to bring in a foam mat to stamp on. So I'm just going to put this down, and this is just a scrap, so it doesn't have to be in any particular spot on this. We're just going to die cut it out. So I'm just going to make sure I got good coverage on my stamp, and I'm just going to stamp it down. Just like that. set that aside. And then we're just going to do the same process with these leaves. Just going to stamp it down. And the only placement to it is if you're trying to conserve paper. And then I'm going to come in with the other set of leaves. And I'm going to stamp that down as well. Just like that. We're going to die cut those out. And then we can go ahead and stamp the rest of our stuff. So let's take our piece from the inside. This is going to be, you can tell you'll have two basic whites that are pretty similar in size. The smaller one's going to be the front. The other one's going to be the inside. So I've got the inside piece here. And we're going to put this greeting in the basic black. We're going to do wishing you all the happiness you can imagine. So I'm just going to ink that up. And we're going to do that in the middle. Okay. And then while we've got the black out, let's go ahead and do the piece for the front. We're just going to do happy birthday, and we want to do it close to the bottom because in between where we're going to die cut our circle and our stamp, we're going to have some ribbons. So we want this to be close to the bottom. So I just want to get it kind of centered, but I want to keep it down low. I'm just going to stamp that on there. Just like that. Okay. All right. So we're done with our black. And we only have one thing to do with the pale papaya, and that's on our inside piece where we stamped this. I'm going to bring in my pale papaya, and we're just going to do one little flower. And that's just going to tie in color from the outside to the inside, just tying everything together. And I'm using this cluster of flowers, this bouquet of flowers, and I'm just going to kind of tilt it a little and just stamp it down this corner. And like I said, that's just tying in the color from the outside of the card. Okay. So we've got all that done, and we're done with this piece. So I'm going to bring back these two. These will need to be die cut. We'll also be die cutting a circle. I'm going to go ahead next. I just want to give this a little bit more drying time. It just takes a few seconds, but I want to make sure that black's good and dry before we go coloring on it. So we're going to come to our pale papaya piece, and we want to take our embossing folder, and I just embossed the whole thing. You only really have to emboss the top part because all that's going to be seen is a circle of it, because we're going to die cut the circle in the white, and this is going to show through. So I just tried to place it so I could get some, I tried to pick something that I thought looked really pretty that I wanted to hit in the circle, and that's how I decided how to place my cardstock in the folder. But it really doesn't matter because everything about this folder is pretty, so you're going to get a good effect wherever you go. So I'm just going to run this through my embossing machine. Okay, and this is what we come up with. And that we're just going to set that aside for now because that's going to be when we put our card together. So we're done with this. And then let's go ahead and work on coloring, and then we can do all the die cutting at the end. Okay. So I'm using both the dark and the light of the pale papaya, and I'm going to start with the dark. And I am not an artist. I am not an expert colorer by any means. I just really, for me, it's trial and error. Now, you may have a perfect artist eye and can be able to figure out dark, light shades really easily. For me, it's a little more difficult. So for me, I just do trial and error. I put dark where I think, and I can always darken up at the end if I need to. So this has a blunt, more of a blunt tip, and then a brush tip. I'm using the more blunt tip, with my darker color. And the first thing I know is I want the center to be the dark. So I'm going to go ahead and color the center with the dark. And then I'm just going to come down at the bottom of the leaves or the petals, and I'm going to put some dark. Just trying to give it, you know, some different definition so that it's not all one color. And I'm just going in various places where I think that it might have a little bit of the dark. And you may really know shading aspects really well, and this may come really easy to you, and that would be wonderful. So this is the light pale papaya, and I'm going to use the brush end for this. And I'm just basically going to brush the light color. And I want that to blend a little bit. And don't worry too much when you first do it. It may not look the way you want it, but give it some time to dry before you go making any changes, because it will look different as it dries. So I'm just brushing the dark color up and then filling in with the lighter. And I find that turning my piece as I'm working helps me. That's just what I found for me that works. As you do it, you'll find what works for you. And please don't not try it because you're afraid that you can't color and you can't make it look good, because like I said, mine's trial and error. I could never do the same thing twice because I just go with, you know, as I color it, do I need more dark? Do I need more light? That kind of thing. So definitely don't give up on your first one. Just keep playing. And the Stampin' Blends, they're really kind of amazing because they do a lot of work for you. And I could have just not shown coloring the whole thing on screen, but sometimes beginners, they need, you know, if you're beginning and I skip steps, it can be a little discouraging. So I wanted to make sure to color the whole thing on screen just to help anyone that's just starting with their card making, or maybe you're just getting brave enough to start with the coloring. I wanted you to see my process. Okay. So I just wanted some dark highlights. I wanted the center to be dark, and then I filled in with the light. And then you can just look at it and decide, do I need more dark? Do I mean, you know, what do I need to do? And I think I do want a little more dark. I want some dark right in here. Maybe up that side a little bit. Just like that. And then I'm just going to go back with the light and blend in just what I just added. Just so it blends. So it's not that stark contrast. Just like that. And that's all there is to it. So now we need to die cut this, and we need to die cut these. Okay, I've got my flower and my leaves. So I'm just going to set these out of the way. Now remember, we want to put a circle. We want to use our scallop circle in our front piece. So I want to figure out where I want it. I know I want it centered side to side and just a little bit from the top because I want plenty of room for my ribbon down here. So I'm just going to die cut this circle. And when I die cutting this circle, definitely don't throw this away. You'll be able to use this on another project somewhere. You'll find somewhere to put it. So definitely save that. So let's work on putting this all together. we know that this is going on here like this. So the first thing that I did, and I used liquid glue just because this has got so much texture. So for this, I used my liquid glue, and I just put glue around the circle. And then a little bit down here and just some up in the corners. I didn't go all the way to the bottom because this piece is not going to go all the way to the bottom. And it wouldn't matter if you did. This is on the back side of the white piece, so you're going to be okay. So then I'm just going to come back with this. And I'm just going to place it down and press it down. Just like that. So there we've got our circle with all of our pretty embossed showing out. And I try to really press it around good around the edges of the circle just to hold it down. Now for the rest of it, I'm just going to go ahead and use this piece I'll attach to the black with the liquid glue, and then we'll use Stampin' Seal for the rest of it. So I know that this is going to center on this piece, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm just adding my glue. And I probably use a little more liquid glue when I'm using something that's embossed, just because of all the crevices. Okay. And we're just going to center this on this piece. Press it down. Okay, now I want to add my ribbon, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal, and at the bottom I know my ribbon's going to go right across here, so a little bit up from the edge I'm just going to put a strip of Stampin' Seal on each side. I'm going to cut a piece of ribbon. And I just kind of hold this out here and eyeball it. I want this piece to be wider than my cardstock. And I'm just going to place it where I want it so that I kind of want to center it between the bottom of the circle and my writing, but knowing that I'm going to put a knotted piece on it. So I think right about in there looks good. And I'll press one end into that strip that we just put on there. Then it makes it really easy. Just attach that down like that. And you can move it a little bit if you need to, but there, that's got it secured. And I'm just going to put, you could either trim this, or you could put some more Stampin' Seal underneath to hold it. Either way, it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, now I'm going to come back with the Stampin' Seal. And I'm just going to go around the edge, just like I normally would. And I'm going to run right over that ribbon. Just running right over it. Okay. Now I'm going to come in to bring my card base. And I'm just going to place this centered on the front, just like that. Okay, there we go. We're ready to finish it off. So I'm going to go ahead next and I'm going to put my inside piece in. I'm just going to run the Stampin' Seal along this. Ready to close this up. And I'm just going to take my bone folder and kind of give it a crease. Okay. Then I'm just going to cut me a piece of the ribbon. I'm just going to slant the end and then I'm going to slant the other end, and you're always going to be able to trim this after you get it if it's too long, after you get the knot put in. But I like to have enough to make sure I can tie my knot. I don't want to get it too short that I can't tie the ends. So I'm just going to slip this through here. And I'm just going to do a simple knot. Just bringing that other end through. And just pulling that like that. Just like that. Now, I like to, once I have this part done, because if you leave them too long, they are going to curl. So I just come back in once I've got my knot tied, and I just trim them. Just like that. And you could always use, I'm going to use my take your pick tool. And I'm going to use a glue dot. I'm just going to scrunch it a little bit so it's a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to put that underneath my dot, or my knot. And that's just going to hold that down a little bit. And if you don't like the way this is flailing, is that the word I'm looking for? Flailing up. You can always use a glue dot to hold that down as well. There. See how adding the glue dot made it sit down a little bit better? And I like that. And I don't mind that that's lifting a little bit, but you could definitely ball up the glue dot and put it underneath here, and it would hold that down a little bit. Okay. So now we're ready to put our other pieces together. So I'm going to come in with my pieces that we die cut. And I always like to dry fit it first, so I know about, have in my mind what I want to do before I go putting things together. I know I want something along that lines. So that gives me a good idea. I kind of look at where things are to know where I want to put them. And I'm going to start with this piece. And I'm going to use a glue dot. And I'm going to put the glue dot on the front of this piece. And I know that it's going to stick up like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other leaf piece. Just put a glue dot on the front. And this is going to go down in here somewhere. I like that. Yep. And then I'm just going to come in with dimensionals. And I'm going to put those on the back of this set. Just like this. Okay, and I think I'm going to put one more on this leaf if I can get it on there without, yeah, I think that'll work, without it showing. just to hold that down. And then I'm just going to peel the backings off. Okay, and then we're ready just to add this to the card front. Okay, we're just going to, I just want this to kind of run around the circle, just give a frame to the circle a little bit. Just like that. I'm going to press that down. Then I'm going to come in with my brushed brass butterflies, and I used a larger butterfly. There's two different sizes. And I put a larger one. There's spaces on the embossing where it's flat, and I just found one of those spaces to put my butterfly, just like he's flying around. And then I'm going to come in with a couple of the little ones. I'm going to put one up in here. And I just kind of turned the way they were flying so they weren't all flying the same direction. And then I'm going to put another one down here at the bottom. So I put the little ones on the white, and I put the big one on the pale papaya. Just in different spots. No real science to it. Just spread them around a little bit. And there you have it. A perfectly beautiful card that says happy birthday. And I think I do want to use a glue dot to tack that down a little bit. It's just bothering me the way that one side is. So I'm just going to come in with the glue dot. I'm just going to ball it up. And I just want to tuck it like right under the, where it comes out of the knot, just to hold it down a little bit. There you go. Just like that. Okay. I hope you've enjoyed this birthday card. I hope you'll give it a try. I hope you see that you don't have to buy it's great if you want to buy the whole collection. It's a beautiful collection, definitely worth having. The designer series paper, I don't want to diminish its beauty because it is absolutely beautiful. But if you just want the stamp set, when I first used the stamp set, I thought, oh, I don't really like it. And then when I started playing with it and coloring with it, I found that I really did like it more than I thought. So I hope you give this a try. Again, be sure to check out my blog, karenscardsandmore.com, and check out my Facebook group, my Facebook page. Be sure to, if you haven't subscribed to my channel here on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe and the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload a new video. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment that you like the card. I do read the comments and use those to design my future projects. So I hope you enjoy this, and I'll be back to craft with you again soon.